Now, one of the other questions that's been raised, and I've received this in private correspondence, is, well, part of the euphoria of the Orthodox Church of Ukraine is rooted in finally achieving liberation from Moscow and having recognition from the ecumenical patriarchate. Some people have raised the question, well, have they just exchanged one master for another? If Moscow is no longer the master of the Orthodox Church of Ukraine, is Constantinople now the master of the Orthodox Church of Ukraine? I think it is undeniable, if you read the Tomos of autocephaly, that the way that the ecumenical patriarchate, that the Church of Constantinople defines primacy for Orthodox Christianity, is visibly inscribed on that Tomos. So two things come to mind that are examples. One is, and I think that this is a minor issue, at least for the time being, one is that the Orthodox Church of Ukraine has to receive its myrrh that it uses for the sacrament of chrismation that completes baptism and that also is used to receive converts into the church. It receives it from Constantinople. This is the Greek tradition that autocephalous churches that have been in the orbit of Constantinople receive their myrrh from Constantinople. Interesting historical trivia. In 1917 to 18, the Moscow Council, when it ratified the official canonical autonomy of the Orthodox Church in Ukraine, Moscow authorized the Kievan Metropolia to consecrate their own myrrh. And that was actually never put into practice for the Kievan Metropolia, but it is part of their history. And so some people have referred to this as a sort of like a dependence on Constantinople, whereas others say, well, this just shows the unity of the churches. I think it's important to note that that's stipulated in the Tomos, that the Ukrainian church is to receive its myrrh from Constantinople. I think of greater importance is the fact that if there is some kind of a dispute that cannot be resolved in the Orthodox Church of Ukraine, that the bishops have the right to appeal to the Patriarchate of Constantinople. And some people say that, well, this is definitely a way of Constantinople asserting the way that they understand primacy, is that if there's going to be an arbiter in all of world orthodoxy, that Constantinople is going to be the sole arbiter of disputed cases. Now, for example, the Ukrainian church has actually benefited from this because Patriarch Filaret had appealed 6 times his canonical deposition and anathematization to the Patriarch of Constantinople. And after all of these years, they annulled the canonical sanctions imposed by the Moscow Patriarchate on both Patriarch Filaret and Metropolitan Makary and restored them to the church. And it's important to note that there are many Orthodox who feel that Constantinople overstepped their bounds in taking this action. There are many who disagree with this particular move. So the Ukrainians benefited from this, but it's something that hypothetically they might have to deal with in the future. And then one other item that I think is crucial for Ukrainians who are outside of Ukraine is that the Tomos of autocephaly stipulates that the Orthodox Church of Ukraine, its jurisdictional boundary is limited to Ukraine. That means that the Orthodox Church of Ukraine cannot have monastic communities or parishes outside of Ukrainian borders. Without doubt, this is an issue that is going to have to be sorted out with parishes that belonged to the Kievan Patriarchate and are now being subsumed into the Orthodox Church of Ukraine, because per the Tomos and the statute that the Ukrainian bishops agreed to, they're going to have to now supposedly become part of the ecumenical patriarchate, meaning the Ukrainian Orthodox Church in Canada or the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of the USA. And those who are familiar with the history of these parishes of the Kievan Patriarchate is that many of them had serious differences that actually resulted in lawsuits that ended up with their reception into the Kievan Patriarchate. Supposedly, the Kievan Patriarchate no longer exists. And these churches, canonically, are now part of the Ukrainian churches that are under the Ecumenical Patriarchate. This is an issue that's going to have to be worked out. And what I think that you see here is that Constantinople, what they're trying to do is they're trying to set the stage to have canonical order not only in Ukraine, but to have it everywhere.